welcome to our display, 50 years of 3 Series. It's a worldwide 50 years of 3 Series, so just a caveat at the beginning. In Europe was 1975, but for us it was 1977. So we were still selling 2002s with the big bumpers and the square taillights back in 75, but it is officially the worldwide 50 years of 3 Series. So we have our 77 US model here, flanked by a G20 M340i on the other side. Tried to make the color as close as possible as well. But let's start with the E21, first generation 3 Series. It took what was good about the 2002, the engine. At that point it was fuel injected. This is a fuel injected engine. Unfortunately, smog regulations were coming in at those times and the bumper regulations were coming in at those times. So performance actually went down a little bit, but this is a really loved car by enthusiasts. I can't believe how many times this weekend people went, oh, I had one of those, I love that, I have a great car, wish I still had it. And this one is about as good as you'll get. Some were 101 and 110, so it wasn't a lot of horsepower. Right. That was the beginning of the turbo age, and the engine from that, which is base engine from this, became the Formula One engine in 1983 and won the championship. So there's a lot of beginnings here that ended up in big things. We've owned it for about 20 years now, and it doesn't get driven much. It's got about 10,000 miles on it. And really, really good looking car. Early BMW, everything facing the driver. And another quick point is 1975 was when we coined the tagline of the Ultimate Driving Machine. The 2002 was the first Ultimate Driving Machine advertised car. This one was solidified it, and then it went from there. That was North America, and globally it was, in German it was Freude am Fahren, which is joy in driving basically, and in Europe it was sheer driving pleasure. Bob Lutz was a member of the board of management, and he did a couple of things. One is he hired the advertising agency Amelia Concours in the US, which coined the phrase. Lutz loved it, so they went with that. The second thing that's kind of credited to Lutz is the 3, 5, and 7 nomenclature. When he came to BMW in 1972, he couldn't tell what was what because it was by engine designation, 2000, 1800, and you had Bavaria was a US thing, yeah. So it was really tough to figure out what was what. And because we use the same engines in different bodies. Yeah. And so one of his marketing people said, mate, what if we do 3 and 5 and 7? And then this was
he was the Johann Denetian of his day.
I would say he's way above that because he started BMW Motorsport, right, which gave us M. Yeah, I think he did a lot. He was only there for 3 years, but he did a lot. And he also established BMW North America in 1975. So, got to give him some credit.
Yeah.
Car design was done by the engineering department. A gentleman by the name of Hofmeister, who you may have heard of before, right? They had hired a designer called Paul Brock, but the board had hired the designer. It wasn't Hoffman, so there was friction between Hofmeister and Brock. So Brock was kind of sat in the corner and did his little drawings and things. When Lutz came, Lutz has always been a huge lover of designers. He calls himself a designer in the closet, and he really wanted to do that, and he has an affinity for it. So he found Brock, and he got him out. He got him some ability to do things, and the turbo concept was a really pure Paul Brock design. These were also Brock designs. This one, the E23 7 Series and the E24 6 Series. And there are points that are similar on several of them. So the kidney grill that goes into the hood with the lines there. They looked at the cars from the plan view as well as from the front and side. So they really wanted to get the lines right. The lines are probably purest on the 6 Series. This first generation 6 Series, because of size, it was a little bit less here. And another little Lutz story, when Lutz arrived at BMW, the replacement for the 2002 was already done. And Lutz's people said, you got to see that thing because it's not pretty. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, ask Hofmeister to see the car. So he calls up Hofmeister, and Hofmeister says, nah, the car's complete, there's no point in you seeing it. And Lutz said, look, I have to sell this thing. I need to see the car. So he gets in to see the car, and in Lutz's words, it was hideous. So if you've seen the 2002 Touring that has kind of a fastback look, it was like that, very straight up on the sides, and Lutz said, no, we can't do this, we have to make some changes. And Hofmeister said, it's not possible, the model is made out of wood, we can't change anything, it's set. And Lutz said, it's got to change. So that's how the square taillight 2002 came in, because they did a refresh on the 2002, so they bought themselves another 2.5 years of production with 2002. BMW didn't have a design studio, didn't know how to do clay, so he got clay from his old friends at Opel, got modelers from Opel, and bought the tools, and they did the first 3 cars, which were this car, the E23 7 Series, and the E24 6 Series. And yeah, that's the beginnings of the BMW design department, also Lutz. So thank you, Maximum Bob. Did a great job for us in our early years. Okay, so let's move on to E30. So we had 7 spots. We had to hit 1 car from each generation. It's tough to pick, but when it comes to E30, I think the E30 M3 is probably the pinnacle of that, the most loved by the fans, and it was a homologation special to go racing. This is the most successful touring race car ever, so we had to bring an E30 M3. It's the only car here that is not a US model or US raced car. This is a DTM car, so it has, and it's a very final, very late one. It was raced in 1992, 2.5 liter. Don't know how much horsepower it was. The engineers say it was a lot. This was a big development engine for the M10. So basically the engine from that developed into this, and then eventually onto Formula One, and won the championship in 83. This one is a special sprint engine version. There are some differences in the throttles for it. It only will last the length of a DTM race. So this one, unfortunately, is a static only one. It can't run anymore. If you're really into it, if it's a slide throttle, it's a sprint engine. If it's a butterfly throttle, 1 per cylinder, then it's an endurance engine. This one was raced by Steve Soper, run by Team Bugazzi, ran in 92 season, and it has a few wins under its belt. Really an important car in the history of BMW for sure. So Rich Breckus used to be a product strategy for us and BMW, and this was during his era. It's an E36 M3, lightweight, one of 123. It is 1995 model. In Europe, there was an M3 GT, which had aluminum doors and an extendable front splitter and a rear wing. For the US market, we couldn't get that, and it had a larger motor. We couldn't get the larger motor, so the idea was to do a lightweight version. People were talking about racing these, so this was a race prep car ready to go. No AC, no radio, aluminum doors from the GT from Europe, the extendable splitter, forged wheels, which were an option on the regular one, the wing in the back, and then a better oil system in the engine for high Gs. Since new, it's got about 2,000 miles on it only, so it's one of the better ones, and it's the most valuable of the E36 3 Series. Yeah.
How many? First 50.
123, and they weren't great sellers at the time.
I remember hearing about it.
They were tough.
The first 50 went right away.
Yeah. Now we can move over to E46. All right. So for E46, what are you going to bring? There is one unicorn in the E46 model range, and that is the M3 GTR. There are 3 street car GTRs in the world, and there are 3 race cars left in the world. One runs, and it's this one. So we decided to bring this. It's painted in Stars and Stripes livery because it raced at Petit Le Mans less than a month after 9/11, and it was a tribute livery for that one race. It won that race, so that's the way it won that race and was retired afterwards. The car was converted and raced for several years after that, and then in 2015 we converted it back to its Petit Le Mans win livery, complete with the V8 engine in it. And I'll open the hood because there's a long story that goes with the engine in this car. The engine is called the P60. It is a 4-liter V8 with a flat plane crank. In race trim, it does about 500 horsepower. The street version was, I think, 360, somewhere on that. In order to race in those days, the rules said that you had to produce some for the street, just some. And you had to offer it on three continents for sale. So there were 3 finished cars, street cars. One was brought to Petit Le Mans, that last race. And then there was one sent to Dubai, and one went to, I think, Poland or somewhere.
This was the Road GTR?
The Road GTR, yeah. And they're all silver. They all look more or less the same. They all still exist. And they had the race engine in it detuned for street use. It's not a great street car because it is a flat plane crank, so it vibrates a lot. You feel it in the car. And then later with this car ran with the 6-cylinder and the sequential. So, and we had to bring it back to the 2001 level. Yeah, the street cars, 10 were made. 7 of them were development cars and they were recycled. 3 remain. They're all in BMW's collection. P70 engine it can rev to 10,000 RPM. It was redlined at about 8,600. It's a really strong engine. It was initially developed to go IndyCar racing, and we decided not to, but the engine was done, so it ended up in this car. Porsche protested, of course, because they weren't winning. We were. And at the end of the season, IMSA said you have to build, I think, 1,000 engines and more cars for the market. There's no way we can build 1,000 P60 engines at a time. So we said we're out, and we took a hiatus from racing for a year, and then converted them to inline 6s and raced in Grand Am and won the championship there too. So very important car in our history. It is a unicorn. If you played Need for Speed, this is the car you lose when you in your first race, and you get it back at the end of the game if you got to the end of the game. And BMW in Munich did the livery on their race car to look like the Need for Speed car recently. So little fun fact there. All right, let's move on. We're in generation 5 now, and I'll call this generation E9X because this is when each body style had a different number. So this is an E92 behind me, another race car, our last of our race cars. This is an E92 M3 GT, raced in the GT race from 2009 to 2012. This car is, if you like, an LCI. So it was a development car that came out in 2011 and raced 2011, 2012, and then was retired. At this stage of racing, a car chassis in the top level could only survive for 2 years. Otherwise, there's enough flex in the body that you lose 1/10 of a second, and that's all you need. Sebring twice in 2011, 2012. It won the championship for drivers, manufacturers, team, and Michelin Green X efficiency in 2011. So a very successful race car. So we built 2 new chassis for 11 and 12. This car represents the E9X. This is another V8 car. Compared to the E46, you're seeing a lot of aerodynamic work here over the car, but also through the car. So you have your radiators in the front, exiting up over the hood. These 2 ducts here are for interior air for the driver. The car's air conditioned now, required by the rules, and then the engine breathes through these 2 little tubes, and they're pretty small. It's breathing through a snorkel, but that's how the series would adjust the performance for each car. 4-liter V8 again, flat plane crank again. And the reason flat plane is the way to go for racing is it's freer revving because it operates like 2 4-cylinders. It's not great for the street because it vibrates a lot. This thing will buzz everything. You put a GoPro in this and mount it to the roll bar, you can't see anything out of it. A very well-developed car. This one was a factory-built race car, and one of, I think it's 18 were built total. There's an art car in this type of car. And if you have a look inside the cockpit, we're now in the age of lots of buttons and switches and things for the driver. And the driver's manual for that car was about 3 pages. The driver's manual for that one was like 4 pages. This one, it's 17 pages long of all the systems you need to understand. But a wonderful, fun, wonderful race car, extremely successful. And that's it with the race cars. Now we move on to, and this is an F31, which designates the sport wagon. The reason we decided to bring the sport wagon is because, well, Jay ordered this car and spec'd it.
It's a smoked topaz.
Smoked topaz, and it has some M Performance pieces on it as well. M Sport front. It's one of the last, yeah, if you like.
Last dozen or so.
Yeah. At that point in time, the Tourings or sport wagons were not doing so well from a sales standpoint for us, but internally we all loved them, so we bought this one and kept it in the collection. We've had it since it was a press free car. Yeah. And we decided to bring it out here because we're back into the touring business, right? In Europe we call them Tourings. The M5 Touring is now on sale in the US, and it's not our first Touring, and hopefully it's not our last. So this is a wonderful car. And actually with F3X we also made the transition to turbocharging, right? Smaller engines with turbocharging. Since then they're all twin power turbos, and we are still twin power turbo. And I'll let Jay take this one, because I'm only responsible for classics now, and Jay's responsible for the new cars.
This isn't a classic yet, I guess. You've all driven this car. This is the G20 generation of the 3 Series. And the reason that we have these two positioned the way that we have them positioned is because we've kind of taken you through a journey now, and this is the culmination of everything that has happened over the last 50 years. This is everything that we've learned, and this is still, in our minds certainly, the iconic European sports sedan. But it's really interesting to see how we got here. You know, this one over here was kind of the age of efficient dynamics. This is when we went all turbo motors. This is when we did all kinds of steps necessary to cut emissions and improve fuel economy, but we would never do that unless we could also enhance the performance in some way. And that's what we've done here as well. So now, in addition to the twin power turbo system, we have a 48 volt mild hybrid system. Does it increase efficiency? Yes, it does. Does it lower emissions? Yes, it does. Does it boost performance? Yes, it does. This is actually 386 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. It's a bigger car, obviously, than that one, but look at how far we've come. We came from 101 horsepower in the car that introduced you to the ultimate driving machine, and now we're talking nearly 400 in the same car, with fundamentally the same role playing. You know, this is still a family car. It still does everything that the 3 Series is supposed to do, and it does it brilliantly, but it does it on a level that was inconceivable back in 1976. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're celebrating it, and it continues to define the brand, and it's probably going to continue to define the brand for the foreseeable future. So we're really proud of it. We're really proud of it. So there you have it. It's 50 years in a nutshell.